The microphones today after weeks of calls for his resignation. The Department of Defense hammered over refusing to pay death benefits to the families of fallen soldiers. Mr. Hagel blamed Congress for the way the government shutdown impacted military families and called this a manufactured crisis. In addition, he said this.
I am deeply aware of the harm that this shutdown inflicted on so many of our civilian personnel. All of our leaders, civilian and military alike, deeply regret what this shutdown has done to our people, and we'll work to repair the damage beginning today.
Joining me now, Pete Hegseth. He's CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. Did that get it done? Is that enough for you?
It sure isn't. Well, if you want to call it a manufactured crisis, he'd better know where that manufacturing came from. And we haven't called for Secretary Hagel to step down, but he certainly has a lot of explaining to do why that department didn't do all it could. And then send a clear message to the White House. Why are we using our military families, and you've covered this extensively, and we've talked about it extensively, as clear pawns? Because with a stroke of a pen, Megyn, with a stroke of a pen, with an executive order, the president could have made that issue go away. And I feel like if Secretary Hagel had made that plea directly, the president could have answered it, or he could have said, hey, I tried, but it didn't work out. That didn't happen, and Secretary Hagel's got a lot of to do for
now they want to turn the page, go forward, we reopen the government, okay, so, shutdown's over. But there is a question of accountability, and have we had it here? What we learned last week was DOD went to DOJ and said, hey, does this law Congress passed trying to pay the military cover death benefits? And DOJ said, no, it doesn't. And DOD said, we don't think it does either. And as far as we can tell, that ended it until the press got a hold of it and said, that's not good enough. You can't leave it there.
Until the press got a hold of it, and everyone on the Hill thought it covered it. Republicans, Democrats, and others passed that bill believing, because in the law it said death gratuity benefits are a part of what we cover as part of this funding bill. DOJ and DOD seemed happy to pat each other on the back to say it doesn't count, which means that likely someone in the White House, our commander-in-chief, likely, or someone close to him, was willing to say, let's keep this off the table, because it turns the temperature up even higher, which the White House believes, and everyone knows in this shutdown, the White House believes if you turn the temperature up, they can blame Republicans. And you saw the same thing with the World War II memorial. You saw the same thing with VA benefits and the way they demagogued that, even though that department is funded a year in advance. At every step, vets, military families, those who have fallen, were used as pawns. And vets shouldn't just use universal outrage. This should be vectored at the White House, the people who conjured up the plan to turn the heat up.
But it's hard to believe, honestly, that the commander-in-chief, that the defense secretary would take what is obviously a sacred obligation, which is standing up for our men and women in uniform, and use it politically. Is that not?
It's very hard to believe. I don't want to believe it. And Secretary Hagel himself, a decorated Vietnam veteran, I don't question his valor or his commitment to the troops, which is why we haven't called for his resignation. We've said he's got a leader upstairs that he's taking a lot of direction from, and that's President Obama. And someone, if it wasn't him, it was a political operative there who was willing to say, if we give away on this, and it was a political, it was a political strategy from them from the beginning to not do anything to stand up and say, we will give nothing to Republicans, and they were willing to sacrifice veterans and military families. And you and I can envision a commander-in-chief, maybe someone who served, who has a different perspective, who would say, hey, let's fight about politics. Let's fight about debt and deficit, our $17 trillion in debt, Obamacare, but you know what, we're going to leave military families and vets out of it, and this administration refused to do that.
And when somebody finds out that a major loophole exists with respect to payment of death benefits, they pick up the phone and
pick it up, sign the document, get it done.
We still don't know. We still don't know the identity of that person. Pete, thank you.
Thanks, Megyn.